At this point, I'm assuming you've all read the section in the book on unemployment, know how unemployment is calculated, and are familiar with the history of unemployment. What I'm going to talk about is our current unemployment situation and how things look going into the future. Right now, in the middle of 2013, our unemployment rate is a little under 8%, about 7.8%. We've been at that rate for about a year. Prior to that, we went up as high as 10%. But if we go back into the 90s and the early 2000s, we hovered between 4 to 6%. We like to be around 5%. Our economy is very comfortable at about 5%. We have stabilized it at a rate a little bit higher than that. I also want to talk about our participation rate. Our participation rate historically has been in the mid-60s to high 60s. We were at 67% participation. By participation, we mean the percentage of the population actually participating in the workforce. However, when the Great Recession hit in 2008, our participation rate dropped dramatically. Went from 67% and we're currently at about 63%. So there's a lot of people there that are no longer working, and remember, they are not calculated in the unemployment rate. So there are millions of people out there that have left the workforce that we aren't calculating when we get that 7.8, 7.9%. If all of those people were to come back into the workforce and we were to go back to 67% participation, our unemployment rate would be 11.3%, which is probably a more accurate representation of where we are unemployment-wise. We also have to look at the number of people participating in the workforce. As our population increases, and our population is still increasing over time, we need the number of people participating in the workforce to also increase. This is related to the participation rate. We have about 140 million people in the labor force. It's been stable at about that number for 15 years, but yet the number of people in our population keeps increasing. This is dangerous because as the population increases and the labor rate stays the same, you have fewer people paying for more benefits for that growing population. So more people are going into Social Security, more people into Medicare, more people into all sorts of government programs, but the same number of people are paying for them. It's unsustainable. We're going to talk a few numbers here. 130,000. We need 130,000 new jobs every month just to keep up with population growth, just to keep that participation rate steady. 130,000 jobs per month. Let's think about that. In the 2012 election, President Obama claimed that he had created 4 million new jobs. The Republicans disputed that number, but that's really not the important point. If he did create 4 million new jobs, he really needed to create 6.24 million new jobs just to keep up with the increasing size of our population. So he was still over 2 million jobs short of the bare minimum we need not to go backwards. Let's talk about another number, 95,000. 95,000 is the number of jobs per month that we have added to the workforce since the stimulus was passed in 2009. Remember, in 2009, we passed a stimulus package with the sole intent to mitigate our unemployment problem. Remember, that is still 35,000 less per month than we need just to keep up with the growth in population. The 95,000 also started 6 months after the stimulus went into effect, so we're giving it time to go into effect, and it's 95,000 ever since, still falling 35,000 jobs per month short. So what do we need to do? How many jobs do we need to create to get back on track? So if we were to create, hypothetically, 500,000 new jobs per month. We've never done that in the history of this country. 500,000 new jobs per month. To get back to our 67% participation rate at 5% unemployment, we would need to sustain 500,000 jobs per month for 27 months in a row. Probably not going to happen. Let's talk about 400,000 jobs per month. We have created at one point 400,000 jobs in a month. It's happened very rarely, just for a month here and there. If somehow we were able to do that for 37 consecutive months, about 3 years, we could then get back to 67% participation, 5% unemployment. Highly unlikely. Let's go to 300,000 jobs per month. We have sustained 300,000 jobs per month on average over the course of a year, but it's been extremely rare that we've been able to do that. If we were able to do that for 57 months, almost 5 years in a row, which would be unprecedented, highly unlikely, still 57 months to get back to where we want to be. Let's go to 200,000. If we were able to generate 200,000 new jobs for a sustained period of time, it would take exactly 11 years to get back to 67% participation and 5% unemployment. Once again, even that is really optimistic. Let's talk about 150,000. 150,000 is the number of jobs using a 30-year rolling average going back to 1977 that we've averaged per month going into the Great Recession. So from 77 to 08, we averaged 150,000 new jobs every month. So that's a pretty realistic number. So if we were to get back to that number, we're still 55,000 jobs short of that right now per month on average. But if we were to get back to that 150,000 number, it would take us 387 months or 32 years to get back to 67% participation and 5% unemployment. So as you can see, our unemployment situation is not good. But I want you to have an accurate representation of where we really are so you know how far we have to go until we get back to where we were a few years ago.